Hi, I'm Bobbi M. I am a recovering gambling addict. I placed my last bet on March 21st of 2017. So we're just over 4 years away from a bet. I had a gambling career of maybe over 30 years is kind of where the math lines up for me. And the reason I'm sharing my story is because I don't think there's enough awareness about gambling addiction and maybe where it comes from or how people can be impacted. So for me, it started as innocent, as a kid, nickel dime poker with the family, going to this thing called Highlight, playing scratch offs at 15 years old, buying lottery tickets. Everything was really accessible, and even though the laws were there, it didn't really stop me. And my gambling, in hindsight, now that I've done a lot of reflection and a lot of self-discovery, I realized that I probably ended up a gambling addict because I was trying so hard to not become an alcoholic. There was a lot of addiction in my family. My biological father's an alcoholic. There's been drug abuse. It's all there. And I'm not necessarily of the school one way or another of whether it's hereditary or environment. And I'll leave all that science to the experts. I just know that for me, my journey has shown me that my addiction was based on coping. And when I was a teenager, I suffered a lot of loss. I lost an uncle to suicide. The person who moved in to his apartment, we all lived in the same place, overdosed. I lost my first boyfriend. He died of a random disease that very few people have. Just a lot of death and loss. And I can look back and I know now that that was a lot of the triggers and things that I buried the feelings of. And as I went through life, my gambling ramped up. I never knew how to cope or deal or do the things, right? Never really took care of myself. Never really understood what was going on. And through time, my gambling ramped up tremendously. I was sneaking into the casino before I was 21. I loved to go to bingo. Everybody in my family knew I had a problem gambling. All my friends, like, it wasn't a secret. And many years, people are like, you should call that 1-800 number. And I just never did. I think I knew on some level, but I never took the steps to get better. And I had been exposed to recovery options such as 12-step, Gamblers Anonymous. I had gone to my first meeting in my early 20s when I was participating in a gambling study. And it just never clicked. When I was a truck driver in my early 20s, I would drive around the country and I would strategize my stops around casinos and gambling. My poor ex-husband, I don't know how he put up with me, honestly, but he would wake up and I would be in a casino while he was sleeping in a parking lot. And it was my job to be driving at that time. That's what he thought he was going to sleep for, was my turn behind the wheel. And it just kept progressing. And finally, after the divorce, after a job change, I had moved to Kansas City for my dream job. A year ahead of schedule. I was floral director. It was like epic. I was so proud of myself and fearless. I moved across halfway across the country, and because I'm from originally Connecticut. And within the first month of getting the job, I started the job on July 7th, and on August 18th was the first GA meeting that I went to intentionally with the idea that it was time. Enough was enough. Here I was in the middle of the country with no anything. It wasn't like I had the husband anymore with the second income. It wasn't like I had family and friends close. The only thing I really had close was about 13 riverboat casinos that became part of my daily practice, weekly practice. I was blowing off all the things I love to do. I was just always at the casino. Even when I went out to apply for the job, I stayed at Harrah's instead of staying at a normal hotel like regular people would do. So I went to GA, and I got over 2 years of time away from my bet at that point, but I was operating under fear. I wasn't necessarily healing on the inside. I was doing the work and I thought I was doing the right things, but eventually I relapsed, and honestly, I can't tell you too much about the year of 2016 because I was at the boats, the river boats. I was gambling. I wasn't present. I was just a mess. There's other language I'd like to use, but I was a mess. And I finally came to terms that something had to change and decided to go to rehab in 2017. And it was the best decision of my life. Everything from the timing to where I went to the people that entered my life. And that's how I got here in this moment. And I look forward to telling you more about my journey since recovery. Thank you.